This is Jarrod Horak, and in this video, I'm going to analyze the Grade 2 Wood Memorial at Aqueduct, Saturday, April 6, 2024. This is a Kentucky Derby points race, and if you want to read my Kentucky Derby and Kentucky Oaks articles, you can head on over to todaysracingdigest.com, click on their Kentucky Derby page, and you'll be able to read all of my Oaks and Derby reports and other articles I post throughout the week on their Kentucky Derby page. Every Monday, I update the Oaks, and every Tuesday, I update the Derby. If you're interested in Triple Crown Series full cards later this spring, you can find those at todaysracingdigest.com or at my personal website, therunawayhorse.com. I'm going to be covering a full card for Kentucky Oaks and Kentucky Derby Day, Black Eyed Susan Day from Pimlico, and then also Preakness Day. And then for Saratoga, they're going to be having the Belmont at Saratoga this year. They're going to have the 4-day of Belmont Stakes Festival. I'm going to be covering all of those full cards. Also go over to therunawayhorse.com on my sales page for more details. And now we will get into the analysis of this video. 10th race at Aqueduct for Saturday, April 6th. This is the Grade 2 $750,000 Wood Memorial for 3-year-olds traveling a mile 1 1/8 on the main track with a 4:07 p.m. Eastern post time. Resilience breaking from the inside post for trainer Bill Mott. I've always liked this one. At one time he was on my Derby list. I had him as part of my exceptional 11. But then he finished 4th in the Risen Star, dropped him down a bit. He can still qualify for the Kentucky Derby if he can get a top 2 finish in this race. I like the looks of his maiden victory in January, where he stalked the pace and he won easily by 4 lengths. That was the only time he did have Lasix. He was the favorite there. And then he ran okay in the Risen Star from post 10. He had that post 10 in a 12-horse field. He was stalking wide, and he made a bid for the lead at the 6 furlong mark, and he was still second in the stretch, and then he weakened a bit late. 4th beaten 3 lengths. He's adding blinkers here. John Velasquez stays put, should save all the ground, stalking the pace. El Grande, he's run a lot for trainer Linda Rice, 11 starts, 5 wins, 3 seconds and 2/3. So he's very consistent. He's almost always in the top 3. He's been in multiple Kentucky Derby points races, and he's run well in some recent ones like the Jerome Stakes. He was second. The Grade 3 Withers, he was second beaten a nose, and in that race at a mile 1 1/8, he had a 3-length lead in the stretch. Could not hold off Uncle Heavy, and that one's in here as well. And then in the Grade 3 Gotham, cutting back to a 1-turn mile, he pressed, he had the lead, he couldn't hold it, he was 3rd, beaten a couple lengths. That's been kind of the story with him. And he's a cut below the other contenders. He's a New York bred. He goes out there, he tries hard, he'll give his all in here. He could finish somewhere in the money. I just don't think he's going to be able to win at a mile 1 1/8 against a field of this quality. Lonesome Boy is next. This one's 3 for 10 with 2 seconds and 2/3. Exits a romping victory in a stakes race at Parks in the slop. That was at a mile 70 yards, and he won that one easily. He was all over the pace. He should be on the pace in here. He's going to have to run the race of his life to threaten this group. Deterministic is a perfect 2 for 2 for trainer Christophe Clement. Joao Rosario was aboard for both of his wins, and he's back aboard here. And they paid $625,000 for this son of Liam's Map. And he rallied from 6th place in an 8-horse field to win his 7-furlong debut after breaking slowly. That was at Saratoga last summer in August. And then he was off a long time. He didn't resurface until the Grade 3 Gotham Stakes in the slop. In that 1-turn mile on March 2nd at Aqueduct, he was always well positioned in an 11-horse field. He was in a good stalking spot in 5th. He kept moving up. You could tell he had a lot of horse, and Rosario was able to outfinish just a touch there. My top choice, and he was able to win by 2 lengths in that race. Second start after a long layoff. He has a bullet workout for this. Probably should set a good tactical trip, and now we'll see how good he is. This is as he steps up and goes around 2 turns for the first time. Protective is next for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's a maiden after 2 starts. Second, beaten 3/4 of a length in his debut. That was a sprint race, and he rallied from off the pace. And then last time he finished 3rd when they stretched him out to a mile 70 yards at Tampa. He was 60 cents on the dollar. He was placed 4th to disqualification. They're putting blinkers on, and this looks like a very tough spot for this maiden coming from a very good barn. Evening News should be all over the pace for trainer Mike Pino. In his last 3 starts, he made the lead. He won a maiden claiming 50,000 race. He was claimed out of that race, and then he was second in an optional claiming race on all-weather ground at Turfway, and then he won a race at Turfway last time by 8 lengths, going wire to wire at 1 mile. So he's switching from all-weather surface over to conventional dirt, and he'll impact the pace, but he probably won't be around at the end. Speaking of impacting the pace, number 7 Merit is capable of being all over the pace for trainer Safi Joseph Jr. This one broke his maiden by open lengths in his debut at 7 furlongs. And then he was third and second in his last 2 starts as he went from a 1-turn mile to this 1.125 distance. Now, Conquest Warrior was able to easily defeat him last time by 5 lengths. Conquest Warrior came back and just missed third in the Florida Derby last weekend. So now Merritt, a pace factor as he ships to New York in here, but he meets other pace rivals. Elysian Meadows for Bill Mott. This one's back-to-back victories to begin his career sprinting, and that was against New York bred company. And then in the Grade 3 Sam F. Davis Stakes, now that race absolutely was controlled by No More Time. He was able to get out there, be all over that pace, and just keep on going. Now, Agate Road closed from well back to finish a clear second. And then just missing third was Elysian Fields from post 12, rallying from 8 lengths, from 8th place there to finish fourth, just a third out of head out of 3rd place. So it was a good effort there. This one, he really will have to improve here, considering he had post 12 last time, just missed third. Not a bad effort. That was his first route race, and now he's got a route race under his belt. I wouldn't be surprised if he would be finishing in this spot. He's going to have to run faster. If you're playing exotics, you could probably use him. Tuscan Sky for Todd Pletcher. This is a $200,000 son of Vino Rosso, and he's done nothing wrong in his 2 starts. 6 furlongs in the mud at Aqueduct in his debut in January, and he was all over the pace. And he backed off a bit in third, and then he came again, and then he was able to just kick away and win by more than 5. So that was a solid effort. Then they shipped to Fairgrounds. He was on the Risen Star Stakes undercard, scratched down to 3 horses in that 1.16 optional claiming race. It really was a 2-horse race between Tuscan Sky and Nash. Now, Nash had been stakes placed prior to that in a couple races, and he was able to get out there and set the pace, but Tuscan Sky chased him, and it was just those two, and Tuscan Sky was better in the stretch, and he won by 2 lengths. Nash would come back, and he would win the Hot Spring Stakes easily recently for trainer Brad Cox. So Nash was the next out stakes winner out of that race that Tuscan Sky exits, and he's going to have his toughest spot yet, his stakes debut, his 3rd lifetime start. He's got a lot of ability, competitive speed ratings. Manny Franco is aboard. He rode in the debut at Aqueduct, and look for him to sit a nice tactical trip in here. I think he does have speed, but others have more speed. And just like he was comfortable tracking Nash last time, I think that's what he does in this spot. Gettysburg Address is a late threat, moving to the Dallas Stewart barn and adding blinkers. He had blinkers in his first 2 starts, including his debut maiden win at Ellis Park. Then in the Street Scent Stakes, the Kentucky Derby points race, he was 4th after being too eager early and then having no energy in the stretch, and he just weakened there. And then in his next start, I picked him in the Smarty Jones Stakes. He was 5-1. I thought he'd be closer to the pace, but he rallied from well off the pace to finish 4th, just missed 2nd and 3rd by a neck there. And then in his last couple of starts, he disappointed. He was 4th in an optional claiming race as the beaten favorite. He was the beaten favorite in an allowance race on all-weather ground last time. So now switching barns, adding blinkers, look for him from off the pace. Again, if you're playing exotics, trifectas, and superfectas, he could definitely be somewhere in one of those lower positions. Society Man. This one for trainer Danny Gargan. Nice maiden win, adding Lasix last time out. And he was dropping back into the maiden ranks after he was no threat in the Withers. So that race in the mud last time in a 1-turn mile, he rallied from far back to win going away by 3 lengths. And so he's on the right track. He's just going to have to run faster against better company. Deposition. This one, he's just won for 8 lifetime. His maiden win was at Parks at 1.70 yards in November. First 3 starts against winners. In the Heft Stakes, he was no threat. The Withers, he was 4th at 71-1. And then in the Grade 3 Gotham, he was 6th, beating 14 lengths at 82-1. He's going to be a big price in here, and he'll try to get involved from off the pace. He looks overmatched. Uncle Heavy, tough post for him out in post 13. But he's won 3 of 4 starts, including his debut at 6 furlongs, and then he disappointed second time out. But then when they got him around 2 turns, he really started getting better. And he won a little state-bred stakes race for Pennsylvania breds on December 27th at 1.70 yards. And that one he rallied from off the pace. And then last time, in that Grade 3 Withers, he had post 8 in a 9-horse field. He was wide throughout. He won by a nose, just defeating El Grandeo. But he definitely was best that day. He was hung out wide, and he no problem with that 1.125 distance. Again, post 13, probably going to be hung out wide in here, but he's going to be meeting better company. So I don't know that he's going to be able to have that same kind of trip that he did last time and just run this group down when he's going to be facing some better horses. So my top 4 in here, I'm going to go with a Price as my 4th choice. Gettysburg Address. Moving to that Dallas Stewart barn, this horse can, this trainer can get horses to come in at a price in these stakes races. And I think that Gettysburg Address is one. He showed ability in a race like the Smarty Jones, where Catching Freedom was able to win that one. And then he would win the Louisiana Derby, and he's going to be in the Kentucky Derby. And then Just Steel has hit the board in some stakes races for Dean Wayne Lucas, and he was second in the Arkansas Derby, and he's going to be in the Kentucky Derby. So he faced some decent horses, and he was competitive against that group. And now maybe getting back on dirt, adding blinkers, switching barns, maybe he'll be able to improve enough to get a piece of the purse. My 3rd choice is going to be Deterministic. I wouldn't be surprised if he ran well. It's just a question of, will he improve again? He was really good in that Gotham Stakes, solid in his debut. So now, will he spring forward and run even a better race in this spot, or will he regress after such a big effort off the layoff in the Gotham? We're going to find that out. And here, my 3rd choice is going to be number 1, my 2nd choice is number 1, Resilience. He is adding blinkers for trainer Bill Mott. Inside post, ground saving, stalking trip is likely. He'll probably take a bit of money in here. Should work out a good trip. And I wouldn't be surprised if he finished in the top 2 and then qualified for the Kentucky Derby. But I'm going to go with Tuscan Sky as my top choice. He's on my Derby list. He's been on there for several weeks. I thought that effort against Nash was good, and then Nash flattered him by coming back and winning a stakes race. His debut at Aqueduct over this track was excellent, winning that one easily. He's got good tactical speed, and he should be able to work out a nice stalking trip while out in the clear under Manny Franco. The Tuscan Sky, my top choice in the Wood Memorial. So don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment if you like this horse racing content. And that will wrap up this video. And keep checking my YouTube channel for all of these Oaks and Derby points race videos. Have them on there every week. And until I see you next time, good luck at the races.